All right, so I'm gonna preface this with this is the first time I've done like an intense gameplay analysis since like Halo, and I was known for being blunt in Halo and relatively fast. So forgive me if I'm a little blunt. Still love you. None of it's personal. So let's uh let's get into it, shall we? Press the oh I have to focus the screen. That's a thing. Okay. So when you first start off, the one thing I want to point out is I'm gonna freeze right when it starts. I want you to look at this perspective. First of all, the camera's pushed in, so the character is taking up over half the screen. The important stuff that that you were trying to show, like the text in front, not even visible. The things on the right is a very convoluted leaderboard. Nobody cares about the leaderboard until they care about the game. So don't worry about the leaderboard. You can put the leaderboard somewhere else where they will in a high traffic area, right? Doesn't need to be the first thing that you show. First thing that you show needs to be the most important things for gameplay. And the thing is, in an ecosystem where there are thousands and thousands of pieces of content, like, you have less than 2 minutes to attract a player and convince them that this is great. And if you do not take advantage of those 2 minutes, you're screwed. Now, again, when people first spawn, the first thing they're going to do is hold the W key. If they're holding the W key and this is their perspective, that's not going to be great. Always keep in mind, when you respawn a player, you need to give like a 3-second buffer. 1, 2, 3. Within those 3 seconds, the player has no idea where they're going. They're trying to orient themselves. At the end of those 3 seconds, it should be very clear where they are and what options they have. And they should be headed in a direction that you want them to go to begin with. Now, when we go here and we walk this way, one of the worst things that creators end up doing is trying to teach the game through text. Don't do that. Try to understand, what do players do when they first spawn. When they first spawn, most Fortnite players will go and start looking for combat, looking for high action, looking for items to pick up, incentivize that, like incentives. And while you're showing them incentives, you can absolutely take the time to teach them your gameplay over time. Now, I'm glad that the text you use here, it is short, it is succinct. There is a philosophy out there where, like, do not show your players more than 8 words at a time. They will not read it. So, if you want to still say this stuff, you can find better contextual times where you only show one of those messages and it is no longer than 8 words. Right? Okay, so now, let's talk about this. The first initial gameplay. You highlight your market, kind of, but it is overridden by the UI for claiming farms. Now, one of the like, everybody coming into this, they know it's a tycoon. They know it's a farm tycoon. They're going to look for, where is my tycoon, right? Like, what am I going to play? So, you don't need to highlight the tycoon nearly as much as you think you need to. The key differentiator in your game that I watched, like, I learned from Duquesne, I learned from Haley, posting on Twitter, people that talk about your game, the most interesting and talked about parts is the combat aspect, and that's everything revolving around your market. Your market is your product differentiator. You want to call that out as soon as possible. Now, you also want to call out the farms, I get it. But the market is what people are going to use to, like, fight over, and one of the best things about the market is because it is combat focused, it ties into the toy mechanics that I talked about in my Unreal Fest talk. If those of you who are watching on YouTube have not seen my Unreal Fest talk, there will be a link in the description. But it ties in to the fact that the Fortnite character is an existing toy. Players want to use the skills that they have, that they've built up with this existing toy. So you want people to play combat all the time, as much as possible, at least early on. You know, get them interested in this ecosystem. Eventually that's going to evolve better, but if you can incorporate some kind of action-based activity, it doesn't have to be combat. There are other action things I'm not going to tell you because, you know, you can figure it out. I believe in you. Anyways, you want to show off the market as soon as possible. The thing is, you block off the market because nobody has a farm. And so even if I was interested and saw this over the UI icons, I would just start ignoring it. Like, I have no reason to look at this. So I'm just going to run past it and then go towards the UI icons. And not only that, when I go start running towards the UI icons, let's start from the very beginning, right? So if I'm... Ignore that thing. If I'm right here, and I sprint, and I'm like, oh, I need to go there. How long does this take? Starting from the market. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You get the point. That's over 15 seconds. If you only have a minute to 2 minutes to capture your player, you do not want them walking for 15 seconds. You're just going to slowly build up, kind of consider boredom as like a debt that you accrue over time. If you build up too much boredom, people will leave. Don't let them leave. You don't want them to do that. So, what you want to do is you want the farms to be readily available at the beginning. You also want the market to be highlighted at the beginning. Something I recommend is maybe start people in a safe zone, and where the market is the key thing that you see first, and it highlights how important it is. And it's available. Like, I also have no idea at this point that the market is going to be valuable. This is going to be in the back of my mind. Eventually, I'm going to get to one of the farms. It's going to say it. There's a sign that says, oh, you get 50% more earnings from your market. But at that point, I don't even know what the hell the market is. So, nobody's going to care about this. I watched Duquesne play. He knew about the market from Twitter and didn't know where to find it at first. Took forever looking for it. And then when he finally did get it, it was mostly uncontested for a full 40 minutes, which is not great because that's one of your best parts of your differentiating parts of your game. Do not ignore that, okay? So, and when it was contested like twice, and the player walked away because I'm pretty sure the player that was contesting had no idea how valuable the market was. Super valuable, show that off. So at the very beginning, you want to show off both the market and have a quick access to the farms. Now, you lock the market because having the market doesn't have any value to people, and you want to show off the farm as quickly as possible. This whole claiming farm aspect basically does nothing. Every farm is duplicated. They're exactly the same. There's no reason for players to waste time claiming a farm. So what I recommend instead is if you want a quick access to your farm and you want to show off the market, make the farms auto-claim. Just set them for a particular team and make sure there's, only that many teams that can be supported and everybody spawns appropriately. Then put a fast travel teleporter, say spawn people in the shop, put a fast travel teleporter, and then when you walk out of the shop, boom, there's a market and there's a fast travel teleporter. I don't know. You can figure it out. Make it feel good. Also, make it clear that, like, when people see the teleporter, they're going to want to take it, like, immediately. People, like, are drawn to teleporters. They will take it. Also, this door, please don't. This animation is just going to make people frustrated. It's a roadblock. It's clunky. Just leave the door open. Also, this is very claustrophobic. Very painful. I see these things on the wall. That's great. But these weapons on the table, I don't know that you could buy them when I was watching Duquesne's video. So, when people are battling over the market, that's great, that's fun. The capture times may be long. That could be adjusted. Doesn't really matter in too much of an aspect because you're focused on capturing it. However, when somebody dies at the market and they are doing combat, you want to show that there's a path for upgrading for the market. Now, you have it all in a shop right now. And the thing is, it costs, money. But I actually think what would be more interesting is if you had the upgrades, the purchasing of guns, likely more tied to your upgrades in the farm. Because then it ties, like, it forces you to build up the Tycoon. What's going to end up happening is if people know that they can just capture the market and then only grab these guns, like, the market experience is never going to grow and change. You want that experience to grow and change. It's one of your best features. Don't make it a pistol fight all the time. You can make it more interesting. Eventually, you can explore the market moving, changing, obstacles being added. This is your new secondary toy. Like, when I talk about toy mechanics in my Unreal Fest talk, the Fortnite character is your main toy. Most players will be playing with that. this is your secondary toy, the market. Fight over it. But people don't want to fight over it unless it has value, and its value is increasing your earnings. So the next thing you want to show is the Tycoon. So let's go walk over to the Tycoon aspect. What are we, like 10 minutes in? I haven't even gotten to the Tycoon aspect. So let's move on to that. Running. Okay, so I am coming from this direction. I see Claim Farm, but literally this sign is in my way, and I have no idea what to expect. These words are a lot of words to front load people with, and I don't think people are going to read it very much. And not only that, when I'm coming from this direction, if I take this and I capture it, I'm going to be looking in this direction. And because I'm looking in this direction, there's less of a chance that I'm going to know what to do next. You want to anticipate where your players are going to come from, right? Anticipate that, and then if they're going to come in this direction, grab the claim the farm from this direction. Not only that, when you grab the farm from this this direction, you will immediately see, or from this direction, you will immediately see where you have to go next. It is super obvious and very clear. So I'm going to follow this objective path, and I'm going to grab this. Now, normal player behavior is they will hold W. Holding W is the most common thing, and if I hold W right here, even not sprinting, and I grab this, what happens? I heard a sound, walked over the thing, and I have no idea what happens. Now, you miss your beautiful animation that happens here. It's a great animation. You should be showing this off. When somebody grabs a thing, they need to see the feedback right in front of them. They need to have the time to see the feedback. Now, there are various ways you can do that. You can have the unlock be here and be a central unlock, so that way while you're walking, it has time to spawn right in front of you, right? And you can make all this corn, but start from there, and then have like a central corn unlock that unlocks all of these. Yeah, and so when I do spawn this, let's look at the animation. Spawns in, that's pretty nice, it bounces. One of the things that I think would be valuable is adding in a rotation, like skew, shrink it in, like spiral, screw it in, you know what I'm talking about. But also, one of the things that a very easy opportunity would be to add particle effects. You don't have very many particle effects around here. You could add atmospheric particle effects to really add more atmosphere. All these unlocks, one of the things that the reason I wanted to reach out to you and do this gameplay analysis was because the unlock rate that you have is phenomenal. I talked to you, you set up a spreadsheet. Okay, everybody on YouTube learn from this. You set up a spreadsheet of unlock times and unlock rate, and when you did that, you knew exactly what was going to happen next. And at what time, and how much delay there was going to be between each upgrade, so players don't have downtime. Considering that downtime is super important, like I said, boredom is like a debt, like a credit that you accrue over time, a debt that you accrue, you know what I mean. It's a debt, and if it builds up too much, people are going to bounce. Okay, now, if we are walking in this direction, we're unlocking corn, great. If I unlock this last one, I look back to see it spawn, it's great, and then I'm looking in the wrong direction. Always consider the direction your players are going. If I was going in this direction, great, I kind of know where that is, but you want to make players turn as less as possible. Think about, like, them drifting around your map instead of doing sharp turns. Do not do sharp turns. Drifting means that they can also be forecasted to the next location to go. Think about them doing large arcs of turning as opposed to really sharp turn around. You'll make a much easier experience, a much smoother experience, and players will look around less. One of the things that players do, especially on PC with mouse, they will look around like this, and spin around really fast, right? So you don't want them to miss your key points of interest. Now, and also if you build like that, and if you build with understanding the intent of player direction, your game will be much more intuitive. If your objective, like pulse trail, this little line thingy, if that doesn't show up, you're not screwed because the next place is obvious. I would see the unlock right here, right in front of me. It would be visible, very easy, right? All right, so let's walk up to this. We have tomatoes here. Then if I'm walking forward, oh, I didn't even see the tomato spawn. You know, people hold W. They're too lazy to do anything else. Press this. So let's unlock this. So I also don't know how many unlocks I'm getting here, how many are possible, and I don't know what I'm earning from these, which is ideally, like, you don't have to tell them if it's a standard rate. I don't know, but consider player feedback. If I get an unlock, what am I actually getting from this? I'm not told anywhere that my revenue at the top, the $34 per second, is going up. There's no, like, identification. There's a reason HUD messages have an animate in effect and an animate out effect. That movement, that attention is very important. So now, I've unlocked all the cares. Why am I going all the way over here? That is so far away. Boredom is a debt. Don't accrue it. Now, this brings up the next thing. Petting animals. I love that you can pet the animals. That's a great thing. However, unless you're reading this text over here, you have no idea that that you can feed the animals. You might accidentally stumble upon it. Your unique interactions, the cool things you can do, try to draw attention to it. One of the things that could be done is, instead of doing chickens first, you could do like one of the animals that are on the outside that you can pet. Like the dog. The dog might be a good way to start petting, because everybody expects, can you pet the dog? Use pop culture references, very valuable in understanding, like, what are players going to do next, what are their expectations. If you have a dog here, and the dog has little halo effect or some light up visual, you know to walk up to the dog, and then when you walk up to the dog, you can pet the dog, and then you can pop up, oh, you have pet the dog, you should pet, 49 other animals, right? Introduce your mechanics to people slowly and surely over time, one at a time, right? Okay, so I can pet the chickens, it's great. Let's continue unlocking. Okay, so now I want to get, actually, I gotta wait a couple seconds. Okay, I want to get to this unlock right here. This is the farmhouse. Now, up until this point, my expectation is that the Tycoon, as I'm unlocking things, is going to be that I'm increasing my earn rate. That's my expectation. That's what Tycoons do. Look at this farmhouse. It is 5,000. That is a lot of money. I've accrued a lot of money over time, right? I'm getting $50 per second. I'm assuming this is going to give me a lot. But the farmhouse gives me nothing. Nothing at all. This is a problematic thing. If it's going to be different behavior, visually show that it is different behavior. Instead of having a square with, is that green? I don't know, I'm colorblind. Instead of having a square like that, I'm gonna upgrade this because the next thing. What was I saying? Oh, instead of having it be green and square, if it's a different thing, if it's not gonna give the same effect, visually show that. Instead, use a circle with a different color, and have that be utility unlocks. Also, unlocks should have value. I get you have combat. Maybe this is intended as cover for combat. I don't know, but I have no idea, because like once I spawn the farmhouse, I'm like, oh, this is a whole nother space. I expect something to be in here. I go in here, there's nothing in here. It's sad, disappointing. I will never walk in another building like this ever again. You've set my expectation that these are not important. Great. Maybe I'm just earning a lot more money from it, but that's not the case either. I think one of the valuable things you can do in a Tycoon is that this can be an AFK zone, and that AFK zone can have, maybe, like, as the farmhouse gets bigger, you have other activities that, like new AFK activities. Like the Boom Tycoon has a computer that you type at, and it gives you lots of money. Maybe your AFK is more valuable as you upgrade the farmhouse. So, again, not an earn rate increase, but this is a utility increase, and communicate that it's a utility increase with a different visual, different expectations, and have each of those non-earning things be a different utility. This is an AFK house. I would love that. That would be great. Now, again, I'm going backwards. I'm spending a lot of time doing backtracking over, like, we went this way, then this way, and then this way, and then this way. Don't make people move around so much. Again, consider where they're going to be at the time, and the direction they're heading in, and pre-plan that, mark out their path, and do not make them do sharp turns. Consider that your player is drifting. They are more likely to find stuff if they are walking and they are turning slowly and inspecting, and they will find your next thing. Consider players drifting. That's the best way I can communicate, like, level design direction. Okay, now I got carrots. Lots of carrots. Let's do this. They're so small. They're adorable. But definitely twist them up. Again, particle effects. Something else you can do. See how unified? Like, this is very symmetrical. Add some variety. Make it more organic. There might be a way to do that in Sequencer. I don't know. Find a way to make this organic. Even if you just hand place them organic and they all rotate the same, like, at least differentiate them. It'll make it feel better. Speaking of organic, that reminds me. Oh, here's a case where I buy a well. This does, I have no idea. Does this do anything for me, or is it pretty? I don't know. 1,000. Yep, no earn rate, right? Okay, I'm gonna just buy beans. I'm gonna talk about the next thing. So we were talking about organic feeling map. One of the biggest things that creators have been doing for 5 years, that I keep telling them not to do, is to make flat maps. They always make flat maps. You see this? Look at this, like, everything. No, this may exist in some parts of the world, but it is not interesting. One of the things about combat that's great, something like exploration, visual differences. When everything's on a plane like this, I see less things because everything's in front of each other. You want to show off, like, what your game has to offer, or, like, you know, tease different things. That looks like part of the forest, right? If you look at the backdrop, but really it's within my fence of a farm. And my fence goes way out here, so this must be my whole farm, right? Is there anything to unlock out here? I have no idea. I would love to know if I had that. So that brings me to my next thing. Your unlocks, having them set up so you, like, okay, you know that there's a translucent barrier that only shows when you walk up in Fortnite Creative. If you could do a material that's a hologram that does that, where you walk up and then boom, it's like you can kind of see it. You tease what's coming. You give a sense of there's a lot of things to unlock as people walk around and as they explore. And then people are like, oh, I can only see one thing at a time. I would love to see all of it at a time. And they're visually incentivized to be like, what does this farm look like fully fleshed out? I would love to see that, right? I love that. Did I finish my beans? I did not finish my beans. Let me finish this out real quick. What's next? Oh, cool. Speaking of foreshadowing and, like, showing what's coming up, I have no idea how many unlocks are available, where they're going to be. I would love to kind of pre-plan and, like, know what my expectations are. Also, that incentivizes me to get to the next thing. So you can see in the bottom left, you have 31 out of 122 upgrades. One of the things that would be great is if I could see that shape from afar. If I could see, like, a light blue hologram or something of every shape, so that way when I see this, I see all of them in the distance. I'm like, oh, there's a lot to do, and I'm excited to do that. I wouldn't show text. Like, overloading with text gets too busy. And also, one of the things, like, wait, my alarm's going off. Turn that off. We're not ready. Okay. So I unlocked this. One of the cool things that we talked about was, like, you know, adding elevation. Well, because everything's flat, if you have all those blue squares all in the background, it's gonna be a mess. You won't see most of them. If instead you were at a part of the farm and imagine this raised up little by little by little in, like, you know, kind of like a ring-like fashion. If this was constantly raising up, I could see all of the blue circles going all the way up to the top. And there, you could also set up a very kind of visual model, like I'm building the front of my farm first, and then the next level of my farm, and then the next level of my farm, and kind of build up that natural, like, progression of what people would expect, going from low to high and building up. And you'll see all of the incentives all at the same time on your screen. It'll be kind of awesome. If it feels like you'll have to judge whether or not it's busy, but you'll also make this area feel more organic and more normal. Take the time to sculpt out the landscape in each farm. Even try to make each farm unique. Might be valuable, or save yourself time. Don't do that. Also, this should definitely not be flat. Okay, so where are we now? So we've talked about utility unlocks. We've talked about foreshadowing. We've talked about useless upgrades that tell me nothing, that do nothing for me. Each of these things should give me something. We were talking earlier about the marketplace being a valuable thing, so you're expecting people to leave this farm and then come back, and then leave the farm and then come back. Keep that in mind while they're doing that, and understand that there's a bunch of different aspects to your map, and each of these things could do something. Like maybe the windmill gives me a little bit of a speed boost, right? And this should be a different color, because I don't know what the water tower does, but maybe it gives me, I don't know, regular chug splashes, like utility things. And then that way a player has to balance, am I going to invest in like earn rate, or am I going to invest in utility? Now, this brings up another thing. All the goats are unlocked one at a time, and I have no idea how many goats I'm going to unlock. If you can find a way to visually progress this image, like say there are, X number of unlocks, some of it gets filled in, I don't know, maybe it says, 1 out of 5, to be simple. Like, I have no idea how many goats I'm going to be unlocking. I would love to know. Now I can bet a goat. Great. Okay. What's next on this list? Why am I going this way? Oh, I was mentioning don't show the all the text, like just show the shape. I think if you're going to show holograms of all the possibilities of just the shapes, when you walk up as you get closer, this text eventually gets revealed, so people have an expectation of what the earn rate might be. Or maybe actually don't even show the earnings. It might be better that players don't be like, oh god, I'll never make that kind of money. So maybe just show potatoes, carrots, watershed, dirt bike track. I don't know what's back there. I have no idea. But potatoes. Love potatoes. But yeah, again, particle animations would be great. The moving in, popping in is great. But also, like, screw it in. Give it some life. I like the music in the background. Good choice of ambient music. That's great. I'm trying to think what else. What else we got? I have a list. Let me go check my list. Okay. Let's see. Start players at the marketplace. Don't force claiming a farm. Instead, auto-start people with this farm. Observe your spawn camera. That's another thing. Okay, so when people die at the market, they definitely want to be able to be like, I don't want to die again. So likely it might be valuable to place them in the store where they can upgrade their stuff. And then they're like, oh, I can't afford this, or I can't upgrade this. And then, oh, there is a teleporter right next to me. I'm just going to take that. I just got ran over. I'm going to teleport to my farm tycoon, and I'm going to start earning some money. Love that. Do that. What else do I got on my list? Juice up on your unlocks. Yep, we already talked about that. More particles. Make sure players can see upgrades in front of them. Show progress on potential number of upgrades. We kind of talked about that. Oh, we talked about petting animals. Your other upgrade over here is, find 5 ducks in town. Now, I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what they look like. One of the things that I would do is for hidden objectives like that, I would pretty much guarantee that they find the first one. Like, put it in a place that is in a typical walking path, but is just slightly off, probably around the market. There's a one over there. Like, now I know what it looks like. If you give them the first one and make it a huge celebration, like, boom, you got a duck, and you get this huge, I don't know, huge celebration, upgrade, boost, whatever. Make it a big celebration, make it a big thing, and that way players know what to look for also, and later they're encouraged when they're like, oh, there's an achievement to get all the ducks. I love that. Oh, look, rebirthing. Again, I had no idea this was a thing. I've been in this map for hours at this point. Because of recording and watching people do stuff. So, rebirthing, very important part. I really hope you show this when a farm is done. It also might be valuable to kind of hint at it a little bit earlier when they're like halfway through the farm. I don't know. Maybe there's something that's like one of the utility things unlocks something that's related to rebirths, and you're like, oh, go check out the rebirth chapel, so on and so forth. Who knows? Okay, what else? Yeah, we talked about the duck showcase and shortcut players to which farm they are. Allow money-making resources to be threatened. I'm not sure about the combat. Combat's going to be a difficult thing. If you center it all around the market, I actually think it might be fine to make your farm a relatively safe haven. If you focus everything around the market, you make the market valuable enough, and you make the marketplace, maybe there is some kind of upgrades you can get for your farm from the center, and sometimes PvE players might travel into the town. I don't know. You'll have to play with that, balance that. That could go various different ways. What do we got? Draw attention to threats faster. I don't even know what I meant by that. Different between money-making resources and non-money-making resources. We've talked about that. Non-money-making resources having clear utility value. Start the farm out with a petable animal. We talked about that. Have a proximity hologram. Talked about that. Things to do in the farmhouse. We kind of talked about that. I do think the AFK thing would be a valuable thing. Definitely consider it. Also, if anything, if you're gonna make your farm a unsafe place, like, make this a safe place, like, guaranteed safe place where people can't be killed. Let's see, what else we got? Draw attention to weapons early on. We did that. Actually, respawning players in the shop, maybe not obvious that what can be bought from the shop. We talked about that. No understand, like, I have no idea if buying pumpkins is more valuable than buying pigs. I wish I knew how valuable it was, even like relatively. Like, hey, this is a taller shape than the unlock shape for pumpkins. I don't know. But it would be nice to know that my money is well spent. Okay, what else we got? Show how many upgrades you can buy. If it's a repeat buy, visually differentiate them. Return your vehicles after X time. There's no reason I unlock a car and my car should not be fairly readily available every time I want to use it. I should be able to do that. I would love that. After a set of upgrades is completely temporary, show the path to the next upgrade. You already fixed that. That's got the pass. Okay, here's the final thing that I'm going to leave you with, is that your gameplay with a lot of these upgrades will be so much better. It'll play better, but that your limiting factor is actually going to be branding. You call this a farm tycoon. If you ask somebody about Farm Tycoon, that, like, they could think that it's any farming tycoon. You want to start focusing on branding and rebranding and making this, give this some form of IP, something unique, something. Oh, hey, there's a duck here. Love that. Give it some form of branding. Do a full rebrand. However, do not do the full rebrand until you've nailed down the gameplay and you think the gameplay is solid. Right now you're sitting at a concurrent of 300. I think that's great for variety, for the long-term sake, but I definitely think you could easily hit 1,000 players CCU at least on a regular basis, with no dipping if you incorporate all these early updates. And then once you have the gameplay solid, then you do the rebrand, because rebranding is expensive in a variety of ways, and it should only really be done, you know, once, twice in your lifetime. Don't do it too often. But branding is going to be your limiting factor. So once you think this gameplay is solid, play test this with friends. I cannot stress this enough. Play test this with friends, and if you play test it 10 times and they're like, oh, can we play something else? Maybe you can do something better. But if they're still enjoying it after the 10 times you play it and they're like, can we play again? Maybe you've got something, like some gem on your hands. Okay? So, again, this farm is so flat. I hate it. It's painful. I love you. I hate the farm. Nothing about you. Alright, I'm gonna end it. If you are on YouTube and you watched all the way through and you would like a gameplay analysis of your own, please reach out. I'm totally willing to do it. I would love to help do more of these things. There's no format to this. It is very unstructured. I hope it wasn't too painful. I hope it was fast enough, engaging enough. I hope you learned a lot. Follow me on Twitter/X. Same username, RayBenefield, and watch my, daily videos. Love that. But yeah, I hope this was good. Hope this was valuable. Take it easy, folks.